Once a happy and glorious nation, Afghanistan plunged into violent conflict which lasted for more than 2 decades. The Afghan people experienced years of terror, anarchy, insecurity and extreme poverty. Fear replaced hope, and uncertainty jeopardized any dream of a stable and peaceful life. After the fall of the Taliban, international communities joined hands and help came pouring in from nations across the world. The Afghans started the healing process to rebuild their war-torn country. News of the return of peace reached thousands of refugees across borders and brought them to their homeland. They were reunited with their motherland. Development had to contend with the aftershocks of militancy, large concentrations of landmines and other unexploded ordnance, as well as a huge poppy cultivation and opium trade. As the broken nation struggled manfully against poverty and poor infrastructure, it felt the dire necessity of a planned strategy and a promised commitment for rebuilding the broken nation. The Afghanistan National Development Strategy was developed, and it could well prove to be the turning point in contemporary Afghan history. It could well bring back a smile to the people of this happy and historic land. In fact, it is already poised to make a difference. Following the Bonn Agreement on December 5, 2001, the government of Afghanistan embarked on reforms at different levels of the government across the country. As a comprehensive strategy that would address the needs of the people and make a difference in their lives, the Afghanistan National Development Strategy was formulated using practices and lessons learned from the National Development Framework in 2002, Securing Afghanistan's Future in 2004, and based on the 9 Millennium Development Goals of Afghanistan adopted by the government in the year 2005. The ANDS reflects the Afghans' vision and their expectations for a prosperous Afghanistan. It was endorsed by the international community at the historic Paris Conference in June 2008 and was adopted by the government as the country's strategy for improving security, enhancing good governance, boosting economic growth and reducing poverty.
And it is a flexible mechanism that provides a range of programs and range of projects which deals with security, with governance, with economic and social affairs. We also need to energize and mobilize our own Afghan population to participate whatever they can with the government help, as well as otherwise that they can do, so that this is a collective process by the Afghans.
The ANDS focuses on 3 pillars: security, good governance, and economic and social development. A broad national and sub-national consultation process formed the base for formulation of the strategy. More than 17,000 people across 34 provinces, of whom 47% were women, participated.
چې د راتلونکي 15 کلونو لپاره دلته یو قانون جوړیږي او مطلب چې جوړیږي چې دغه پیسې چې دلته راځي دا په څه رقم مصرف شي، په څه طریقه مصرف شي، بې ځایه لاړې نه شي، او مطلب د دغه خاطر باندې دغه ته موږ راغونډ شوي د قبایلو ریاست ته دلته ناست یو. دا تقریبا د هرې ولسوالۍ نه څلور کسان راغلي دي.
What emerged out of this was a set of needs and priorities identified by the people themselves. ANDS is committed to its main goal of poverty reduction and state building through establishing stability, delivering good governance, and creating an environment for private sector-led growth. The security threats encountered by Afghans are the main hurdle in reaching their goals. These prevent the government from establishing effective control in some areas. Poppy cultivation has flourished, feeding a growing narcotics industry that sustains terrorist groups and insurgencies. Landmines and unexploded ordnance continue to threaten human security and livelihood. The Afghan National Army continues to get equipped and trained. The ANA strength increased to 86,000, 64% of the target set. An ethnically balanced army and police force is equally important to ensure greater security. The Afghan National Police have undergone an enormous reform process. The police strength stands at 91% of its total target today. In counter-narcotics efforts, 18 provinces are free of poppy cultivation and 11 other provinces are near zero levels. While much has been achieved in strengthening the formal and informal structures of governance and the rule of law, as well as in extending human rights, considerable challenges still stand in the way of achieving the goals under this pillar. The public service reforms process for civil service, human resource capacity development for strengthening delivery of services, has been undertaken in almost all ministries and government agencies. Collaboration has strengthened amongst justice institutions to promote delivery and access to justice by simplification of court procedures and enhancing public security. ANDS is committed to retain the Islamic framework of its civil society and yet work towards the strengthening of democratic practices and institutions. The ANDS objective is to ensure a greater participation of women in all spheres of life by taking on board their larger representation at all levels. ANDS gives high priority to protection of human rights with a focus on the rights of women, children and vulnerable groups. 29 child protection centers have been established in 29 provinces so far. 97% of all human rights complaints were investigated and 60% led to resolution during the past year. Among the other important reforms that ANDS is trying to implement are the establishment of a modern land registry and management system and a fair disputes settlement process.
اصلا د افغانستان د ملي انکشافي ستراتیژي یو د عمده هدفونو همدا دی چې د عامو وګړو عامو غریبو وګړو په ژوند کې د دا یو بدلون راولي او دا یوازې هغه وخت کې راتلی شي چې دا ستراتیژي د موږ وکولی شو چې په اول قدم کې په هغسې برنامو باندې تبدیله کړو په هغسې انکشافي برنامو باندې تبدیله کړو چې هغه د افغانستان د خلکو اولویتونه وي هغه په افغانستان کې انکشاف ګړندی کوي هغه پایدار انکشاف وجود ته راوړي او هغه د په نهایت کې د عامو وګړو په ژوند کې یو مثبت بدلون ووسي.
The people still suffer from poor health. Afghanistan's health indicators are closer to the bottom of international indices than any other country in the region. With rapid health facility expansion programs, about 85% of the population now have access to basic packages of health services, and immunization covers 95% of children under 5. Extension of healthcare services will help to reach the global MDG goals for reducing maternal and child mortality rates in Afghanistan.
دغه 15% پرمختګ په برخه د تشخیص او معالجه او درملنه کې او 90% پرمختګ په برخه د پوښښ د اساسي او بنسټیزو روغتیايي خدماتو کې دا به د ANDS لویه لاسته راوړنه وي او دا هم تاسو هم چې تر 2020 کال چې د ANDS موږ ته ټاکلی دی 50% کموالی د میندو او د ماشومانو په مړینه کې انشاءالله تعالی منځته راشي.
The government has invested heavily in the education sector and has attained progress towards the ultimate goals of educating all of Afghanistan's children, reducing illiteracy and creating a skilled labor force. The number of students in general education has risen to 6.2 million. 11,000 schools have been built till date and 61 million texts published only during 2008. However, today, 11 million Afghans are still deprived of literacy facilities and nearly 44% of schools lack proper classroom space. ANDS is committed to implementing its priority education programs endorsed in the National Education Strategic Plan. Improved teacher education and working conditions are also being implemented to increase the quality of education.
بعد از سقوط طالبان ما صرفاً در حدود 6000 محصل داشتیم که همه پسرها بودن تنها 6 پانتون یا 7 پانتون قسما فعال بود. امروز ما در سرتاسر افغانستان جمع محصلین ما که در خارج هستند بیشتر از 75,000 ممکن تا حدود 80,000 محصل برسه که از این جمله 22% از زیر دخترها تشکیل میدن.
The ANDS strategic objective for the agricultural and rural development strategy is to attract private sector investment to transform agriculture to a high-value commercial agriculture sector as a source of growth and extensive means of livelihood. Many farming families remain food insecure and face risky livelihoods, often combined with chronic debt. As a result, the country's vulnerability to natural disasters and food shortages has increased.
اضافه از 70% نفوس افغانستان معیشتش در زراعت است و لحاظا سکتور زراعت در رشد اقتصاد ملی افغانستان اهمیت بسیار زیاد داره. زراعت در فقر زدایی ارزش بسیار بالایی را داره و ضمناً زراعت است که میتونه که در کاهش مواد مخدر در افغانستان بسیار کمک بکنه. لحاظا در تحقق اهداف استراتژی ملی افغانستان سکتور زراعت نقش کلیدی را داره.
6.4 million labor days were generated for more than 10,000 people in 2008, and more than 35,000 needy people were benefited from 519 income-generating projects.
برای بار نخست پالیسی تجارت در افغانستان ساختیم، تکمیل شده و شاید یک دو هفته آینده به کابینه جهتی بحث و منظوری تقدیم شود و تمام تاکید بالای امیسته که تا با ساختن امی قوانین، با ساختن امی پالیسی ها و با ساده سازی پروسیجر ها و با برای انداختن اصلاحات ما قادر شویم که در افغانستان اما شرایطی مناسب و یا ماحولی مناسب برای رشد و توسعه تجارت و تشبثات خصوصی در افغانستان ایجاد کنیم.
ANDS has taken as one of its top priorities the development of the country's infrastructure facilities such as energy, road transportation, urban development and water resources management. Although it is the highest priority for building the foundations for development, the infrastructure sector has remained heavily underfunded, quite unlike what had been envisaged by ANDS. The electricity supply capacity has reached 630 megawatts in 2009-2010, and it is targeted to reach over 1,000 megawatts for the year 2010-2011. Some 90% of regional roads have been completed. However, interconnecting roads and sustainable road maintenance systems still remain to be addressed as development efforts go on. Integrated management of water resources is equally important to the health, agricultural and industrial development of the country. Till date, 13,000 water supply networks have been established, providing drinking water to 2.8 million people in rural areas, and over 600 irrigation schemes have been completed in different parts of the country. Investments in the information and communications technology sector have reached $1.2 billion through 2008. The number of phone subscribers reached 9.5 million, of which 3.3 million were added only during last year. In the mining sector, revenue increased to almost $115 million in 2008. The returning Afghans pouring in from Iran and Pakistan are putting additional burdens on the economy and the government's mandate for ensuring their well-being. The government has been negotiating in order to improve living conditions for refugees and ensuring improved social inclusion of returning Afghans and internally displaced persons in the country.
ولی در مجموع ما خوشبین هستیم به اینکه افغانستان استراتژی را که در بار نخست آغاز کرده ولو با مشکلات باشه انشالله ما تطبیق میکنیم، شاید مدت زیادتر از 5 ساله بگیره.
A part of the ANDS endeavor is to monitor, evaluate and report on the progress made in the various aspects of the strategy. Thus, after approval of the ANDS, the government of Afghanistan has focused on strengthening the overall mechanism for implementation, monitoring and evaluation. Strengthening civil service capacity, institutionalization of ANDS in the line ministries has been well on track. Closing the gap in coordination between the government and its international stakeholders is equally important in order to align resources to ANDS priorities. Programming and budgeting based on results have been started by the government. These will pave the way for monitoring and reporting the impact of the development activities in the country and to ensure that ANDS is indeed making a difference. Going by its achievements and its commitment to the cause of development through ensuring peace and stability, ANDS has already shown the way. Despite great security challenges in many parts of the country, significant progress was made during the first year of the ANDS in virtually all sectors. Their grimaces have changed into smiles. May the number of smiles increase manifold. Their sordid nightmares have already changed into happy dreams. With every year of progress, ANDS looks forward to making advances towards a brighter future for Afghanistan and to helping the country step out from its nascent development stage to a broader horizon of hope, security and prosperity. ANDS says proudly that it can make a difference. Together, we will make our vision a reality for the people of Afghanistan.